All right, what else did I have listed? Oh, the box office. I went to see Maxine the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie, by the way. I loved Maxine. But I was so excited to see that my movie theater was packed with cars. There was parking was tight. And I'm like, God, when did I see this last? And a few months ago, we were talking about, oh, the box office is dying. Look at what happened with the Fall Guy. Look at Furiosa. But ever since then, we've had Inside Out. We've had Bad Boys. We've had Despicable Me. Maxine's doing quite well right now. And it's just been like,
The Eighth
bam,
did pretty
bam,
well.
bam. Yeah, one after another. It's like, what do you think's changed? I know the easy answer people say is, well, we always hear people go, oh, you just got to make good movies. And I'm always like, no, I got to call BS on that, because a lot of times these are good movies. You just didn't go see them. Like Fall Guy, look at the reviews for Fall Guy. Everyone who saw it loved it. Nobody went to see it.
What I think happened, in all honesty, is it's the franchises that hit big with the families. With Inside Out 2, it was the third or fourth most streamed movie on all of streaming for 2 years in a row. It's that, but also you want a good time with your family. And with the family films, I'm sorry, a lot of the family films haven't been all that good. And if they're geared towards kids, but all the adults know it's for them as well, like with a bad, that's a bad example, but say with like a, try not to say Inside Out 2. With that
What
one,
about
right?
the Garfield movie? How about that?
Yeah, there you go. There.
That did respectable too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No kids know who he is now. That's more for them introducing that character to him, to all the kids now. But with Inside Out 2, those kids saw that movie now, and they might have kids now. They might be old enough to have those kids. With the Minions movies, those came out when I was 12, and those kids now are my age and have kids, so they show them. It's a ever-growing thing with franchises that keep on growing.
Especially with the kids franchises.
Mm-hmm. And
like you said, because
all
look at the Puss in Boots last year.
Uh-huh.
You know, obviously everybody that watched the Shrek movies when they were 6 now have kids of their own.
Well, that's
exactly.
That's one thing I kept saying. I don't know how many of you ever watched the John Campea show, but going into Garfield, he kept saying, who's this for? Why did they make Garfield? Today's kids don't know Garfield. And why are they making this? This is a terrible decision. And I kept yelling at my screen. They're making it because that's how you keep an IP relevant. Of course, the kids don't know who he is. They're not going to know who he is unless you introduce them. But you know who does know? The parents. And the parents are going to get... And I go back to the Chipmunk movie from 2008. No kids in 2008 knew who the Chipmunks were, but their parents did. That movie was a huge hit.
I was thinking the Jason Segel Muppet movie, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Peanuts.
Absolutely. And the Peanuts a few years ago as well. Absolutely.
But I guarantee all these kids today know who Garfield is now because that movie. Even if they didn't see it, they saw the commercials, they saw the marketing. They know Garfield now. It'll be streaming on Netflix because it's a Sony movie, so it'll go to Netflix in 6 months. They're all going to have seen it.
Well, and I think to get back to the box office conversation about like sort of the last few weeks or month or whatever, I think it's not just that Inside Out 2 and Despicable Me have sort of built-in fan bases, but I think Noah hit it. I mean, the last few Disney and Pixar movies haven't been that good. I mean, Strange World, I didn't think was that good, and the marketing seemed weird for it.
Not to nitpick with you, but that actually wasn't a Pixar movie. That was
it was a Disney movie. I said Pixar. I said Pixar and Disney.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the last few Pixars weren't that great either, but they also weren't in theaters. I mean, other than Lightyear, this is the first Pixar movie in theaters.
I don't know that I'm going to agree with that though, because
years, right?
I think one of the best Pixar movies was I loved Turning Red. Now, it wasn't in theaters. It should have been. I think it should have
But
been.
that's the thing.
But,
We don't know how it would
right.
have done because it wasn't in theaters.
Right.
Exactly.
So, and I think we got, thank you, Disney, during the pandemic, that we got used to, oh, well, I don't have to spend $70 to take my kids to the movies because I can just watch everything on Disney Plus, and if it's not on there, it will be on there in 3 weeks. And luckily, that has slowed down where it takes a few months now for something to go on Disney Plus. Because Bad Boys did great, and that was good, but it's still going to be the family-friendly movies that are driving the box office.
But I'll tell you something else that, and Perp knows this as well as me because we've been on streams where this has been a topic of conversation for the past year. Anytime two movies get announced for the same months, you hear people go, "Oh, well, no one's going to see that because, like, you can't open a Superman and a Jurassic Park in the same month because one's going to kill the other." And I always said, why? That wasn't the case before. Before, you could open a movie every week and people go, "Oh, well, the market's changed." Well, this summer, it looks like the market's changing back to the way it was because all these movies are opening in July and they're all doing fine. It's not like people are going, "Well, Despicable Me failed because everybody went to see Inside Out." No, they're going to see them both.
Exactly.
So I feel like we're back to where we were pre-pandemic when you could open more than one big movie in a month. I don't know if this is just a phenomenon for the month of July and it's going to die out in August. I don't know. But
No, but is it the Barbenheimer effect of last summer? I mean, obviously, a lot of people saw two movies sometimes in the same day last July. And, did that get people back to thinking of, oh, I enjoy going to the theater. I forgot how much I liked it. And maybe in the fall and the spring, they're busy with work. They're busy with their lives. But it's summer. Kids are out of school. And so now's the time. I mean, is that something?
What I think it is really going to say how this goes is with Wicked and Moana 2. That is going to be the telltale sign for all of this. They were going to open on the same exact day, right? But the Wicked people knew if they opened, they might have been killed because you're going after the same audience,
right?
But you have a different type of crowd for the Oz land, right? Everybody will go and see that on their own thing. With Disney, that Moana movie, it might be 8 years old, going on 10 years old. That movie's still huge. Everybody still loves it. All the kids are still watching it.
It was the number one streamed movie last year, I think they said.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
let me tell you,
sign.
I've heard people criticize Iger for leaning into IPs. I've heard people be like, "Oh, it's all sequels now." I think he's doing the right thing to get butts in seats. He's got to build the habit back. He's got to get people back in the habit of going to the movies. And I think Frozen 3, Moana 2, Toy Story 5, you can criticize them, but these are the movies that are going to do it.
Mm-hmm. And if you want more original stuff, the sequels are what's going to give them the money to make original stuff, to maybe make more great IP and more great series, if you want that stuff.
And respectfully speaking, Monkey Man is a sick individual. He wants a new Garbage Pail Kids movie. I'm teasing Monkey Man, but God, that Garbage Pail Kids movie is one of them.
But no, that's the point, because Wicked and Moana are both kind of similar audiences. I mean, it's going to be, younger girls and families, I think, for kind of both of those movies. It's different when they open the one Star Wars movie against Alvin and the Chipmunks. Okay, those are two slightly different fan bases, and they both did okay. Obviously, the Star Wars one did great. Alvin and the Chipmunks still did okay. But, I think that's exactly what it is. You create the habit, and that's why probably Despicable Me did so well. Everybody went to Inside Out 2 weeks ago, and the kids are like, hey, let's go back to the movies again. I mean, sometimes it just takes one or two movies to kind of create that habit again.
By the way, RJ, just come in. Come on in. You're on the team. Just come on in. We can talk about Inside Out too. Just come Come on in.
Yeah, I'll talk about Inside Out too.
Yeah, bring it on in.
I'll mention quickly a movie that I wish they put in theaters. Is the new Beverly Hills Cop. I hate
Yes.
that premiered on Netflix.
You
I've
know-
never seen any of the Beverly Hills Cop movies in theaters. It would have been really fun to see that with a big Friday night raucous crowd. And instead, I watched it on my phone.
I gotta tell you, I'm not a huge Beverly Hills Cop guy. I've never been huge on the Beverly Hills Cop movies, but I can relate because one movie that I waited for years and years and years was Bill and Ted 3. I desperately wanted a Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah.
And then it came out, and I was fortunate. I got to see it in the theater. My little theater, Water Tower Cinema, was showing it on the big screen. But
Wow.
most people experienced that movie on television. And
Right.
I was like, I would have been so bummed out if I waited for years. Because to me, when these movies debut on TV, and maybe it's just our generation, because Dan, you and I might be the oldest ones here. Maybe it's our generation. But to me, made-for-TV movies are lesser films. The direct-to-video is the lesser film. Like,
Right.
when you got like Dark Man 2 direct to DVD,
Right.
that was we don't have any faith that anyone's going to go see this, so we'll put it out on VHS.
And historically, that's been the case.
Right.
But
So
now you have, Hitman
Yeah.
debuting on Netflix, which also would have been a great theater experience.
That should have gone straight to theaters, and it would have done big money. Big money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and look at Paramount got smart for the one smart thing they ever did by putting Mean Girls in theaters, because that was supposed to be a Paramount Plus original. They had great test screenings for it, and they said, maybe, and it made like $80 million.
Exactly.
yeah.
There's one that I wanted to see, but let me just say this. I'm a rom-com guy, and it's a family affair. That would have been a great film for dates with a slower week. And look at what anyone but you did. That nobody had any faith in that film whatsoever. That would have been a decent cast, big name stars that draw in crowds with a likable story. Was the film great for everybody? No, I liked it way more than anybody else did, but that's
I had
just
a lot of fun with it. I thought it was a great movie, and I saw it in theaters on like a Monday afternoon. So I think it was me and like 3 other people in the theater. But yes, to see that like with a big crowd and people laughing and everything, I miss that experience because most of the comedies today don't go into theaters.
Dan, you bring up something that I've talked about this before on another stream, but it's been said that people want to go to the movies. They want the big event movies. They want special effects. They want the big sci-fi, the big superhero. That's what they want on the big screen. A comedy you can wait to stream at home. And I've always said it's actually better. The comedy films of all the movies, comedies are the ones that should be experienced on the big screen because laughter is contagious. And I remember as a kid when we went to see movies like The Naked Gun or There's Something About Mary. I remember being in these packed theaters watching that and laughing with all those people. It's not the same in your home.
I loved getting to see No Hard Feelings in the theater. It wasn't packed, but there were maybe 20 some people in the theater, and I don't know if anybody here has seen that, but
I saw it in the theater.
Big hit on Netflix, 6 months later.
Yeah.
But I loved the energy of being in that theater for a hilarious movie.
I loved the movie, and I saw it in the theater. I just wish my theater had more energy because I saw it in an empty theater.
My favorite thing of 2018 was seeing this movie right here in theaters. The Blockers.
Oh, Blockers,
my theater was insane. During the Gary scene where he's completely nude, they went completely ballistic, screaming and laughing and howling. Things were thrown. The greatest time I've ever had in a movie theater with any comedy is with that film, only because the crowd was so into it, which made my experience much better. And that's what all the comedies need.
I saw Forgetting Sarah Marshall in a packed theater, and it was, I don't know if it was opening weekend, but people had not really heard yet about all the full frontal nudity. And I
Oh,
mean, people were howling, and that is such a great movie.
the
But
Dewey
yeah,
Cox story. Walk
Dewey
hard, the
Cox,
Dewey Cox story.
yeah, I miss, well, and they generally don't make, the era, the third era of the R-rated comedy is kind of over for now, but in the 2010s when there was a new R-rated comedy every other week, I mean, it was great. They weren't all great movies, but it was great to see in a packed house with a crowd that wanted to laugh.
I got to point out about Blockers. I watched Blockers at home on Blu-ray. I didn't see it in the theater, and I go to Dragon Con every year, or I try to go every year. And Dragon Con takes place in Atlanta, and it takes place in 5 different hotels. It's a huge convention. 5 hotels hold Dragon Con, and I'm watching Blockers, and we get to the final scene where the kids are going to check into a hotel, and the parents are trying to get there to stop them, and they run into the hotel, and I just went, "Oh my God, they're at the Atlanta." What I'm blanking on the name now. It's one of the host hotels for Dragon Con. I'm in that hotel every September, and I'm like, "Oh, they're at the Hyatt. They're at the Atlanta Hyatt."
That's so cool.
So
should we talk about Inside Out 2? Because your friend on there said what were our thoughts on Inside Out 2?
yeah, I just want to make sure we didn't lose Perp.
Hi.
Poor Perp. I know. I'm sorry. We're dominating the
Oh,
conversation.
good. I'm listening. I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I have nothing to add.
Have we all seen Inside Out 2?
No.
I don't think Perp has.
No.
Okay.
I liked it. I mean, I liked it a lot. I'm going to disagree with RJ, though. RJ said he thought it was better than the first one. I had one major problem with Inside Out 2. And I think it's a good movie. But my problem is I don't feel that Joy learned the lessons of the first movie. Like, I feel like she had growth in the first movie, and this movie pulled her back like she learned nothing. Because wasn't the whole point of the first movie that she's supposed to learn that they can't control Riley? Riley, they can't, like, we open, this isn't a spoiler, this is how the film opens, but we open with Joy taking unhappy memories and like slingshotting them to the back, like going, "Oh, Riley doesn't need this." And I'm like, I feel like all her character growth from the first movie was just like
I can agree with that.
Other than that, I like the movie.
I didn't think of that specific gripe, but I think that is definitely an interesting point. I liked the movie. I don't think it's better than the first one, but to be fair, I think Inside Out 1 is the only A+ Pixar movie since Toy Story 3. In the last 15 years, those are the only 2 A+ Pixar movies for me. So for me, I was a high bar. I gave Inside Out 2 an A-. I think there were a lot of great things about it. I think it's better than a lot of recent Pixar output. But yeah, I can't agree that it's better than the first one.
I have to say that it's my third favorite film of the entire year, and I think it is better than the first one. But because I just saw the first one for the first time a few years ago, and I didn't think it was all that good. This one, my biggest issue was the new emotions. A few of them had no character development whatsoever. No character development, except for maybe, well, the big one. But
Yeah.
say, what was that one that's always on the phone?
On
And
Wii?
you? Yeah, him. No character development, does nothing with it, and an unneeded character, except for one scene that is useless in my eyes anyways. But there's only 2 new emotions that get any growth whatsoever, and that is anxiety and embarrassment. They have enough growth for me to really attach to them, but everybody else had no character development whatsoever. I gave it an A. If it would have, if you have taken a few of the new emotions out, I think it would have been an A+.
I think that the just having them go into that other world again, and how they have to try and get back to headquarters again. It's
Again.
just it's very Finding Nemo, Finding Dory for me. They're sort of repeating themselves a little bit. But it's interesting you say that, Noah, that you did not see Inside Out originally, because my brother, who took my nephew to go see it, same thing. He had seen the original the week before for the first time, and he also enjoyed the second one more. So, maybe if you don't have that attachment to the first one, I don't know. But for me, nothing was gonna compare. I think, to the emotional impact of the Bing Bong portion of one.
Okay.
I think the second one did have some good emotional impact as well, but not to that level. So that's kind of
This
where
one
I am
hit-
on my A minus.
This one hit me more, just because of that. Spoilers, okay. The climax where everything goes completely crazy. That hit me so hard, and I was bawling in theaters. In all honesty, I bawled, because that is so what happened to me multiple times at that age, where I just felt what she was going through and what everybody in her head was going through. So I think it might have been just maybe my age too, because I was like that when I was her age.
Mm.
But
Well,
I felt like this was a lot.
Yeah, I think that was a very,
Yeah.
very well written scene. Definitely the great emotional climax of the film. And I'm not disparaging the movie,
Oh, yeah.
really. I mean, it's still an A minus. It's I have to look at all my movies for the year. It's definitely in my top 10 so far.
I do have a image here. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Disney put out a rough draft, a prelude to the original Inside Out back in the 90s. They tried the Inside Out concept back then.
Joe, I can always count on you for a early 90s Fox reference.
I've heard of it. I've never seen anything about that.
This
Joe,
was a great show.
Joe,
This was a great
anybody in
show.
our age demo, did we not think of Herman's Head immediately when Inside Out
Yes,
came out?
yes, we did. And answer me this: Disney owns Herman's Head. It was a Fox show. Disney owns it. How come this isn't streaming right now? They could be
That's true.
tying with the popularity of Inside Out. They could be tying
Yeah.
this. Put this on Hulu, man.
Wow, the return of William Ragsdale.
This was a funny show.
It was a good show.
You know what? And here's the funny thing too, because I remember when this show debuted, I heard the premise and I said, "That is awful." And then I watched it and I'm like, I gotta give it to him. The writing's pretty clever. I thought it was going to be horrible.
Yeah, it was a good show. 3 seasons.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it could have gone 2 more. That's probably why we don't see it. If it had lasted 5 seasons, I bet.
Yeah, 5 seasons was typically the magic number back then.
So, hey, Chad, how many of you watched Herman's Head? I'm curious. Oh, by the way, Dante wants to know, am I going to any cons other than RetroCon? Dragon Con. I'll be at Dragon Con Labor Day weekend, and I probably will not be going to Sesame Place anytime soon. My daughter kind of outgrew it, so we gave up our annual pass. Dante wants to know, Dan, did you see Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue yet?
Oh, no, I keep forgetting about that. Yes, Dante wants me to watch this Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. I think, boy, I forget when he first even asked me that. It was a little while ago. Maybe when I reviewed the Garfield movie, but yes, I have to watch that because I'm sure I will remember it. This was, Joe, do you remember Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue?
Oh yeah, I just watched it recently. I just showed Kira.
Did you?
Yeah,
Damn it.
Kira.
All right, I gotta get on this. Dante, I'm gonna do it this week.
Kira loves all these old cartoons, and I kind of blew her mind when I showed her that one. I'm like, hey, look, here's everybody in the one show.
And it was all the networks combined, right?
Yeah, it was.
It was
Disney,
like a PSA special or something.
Disney, Looney Tunes, Alf, Garfield, the Smurfs, the Chipmunks, The DuckTales were there. Everybody was there.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
And Monkey Man remembers Herman's head. So there we go. Monkey Man may be the only person in the chat that remembers Herman's head.
Very good.
Perp, do you want to talk to us about the movie that you are most there's a movie coming that you're just chomping at the bit for, that you're so excited?
Oh man, I am so hyped. Got my tickets. I got my tickets. Like, when do we get Long Legs tickets? 2 weeks ago, man. I am so excited for Long Legs. That has to be probably one of the best freaking trailers. When we talk about, like, when we're critiquing marketing, is like, look what Long Legs did. Look at their marketing scheme, how they did it. With, like, they released pictures first within a trailer, where it's just a trailer showing a bunch of pictures. It was like 30-second, like, little spot. And little by little, they released more information, more 30-second spot. And then it all added up to one giant trailer. Fantastic marketing. Fantastic marketing. They made it seem like you have to put the clues together. Really great. I can't wait to see Long Legs. I hear Nicolas Cage's performance is it's great. It's fine. Finally, his kind of acting style isn't being used for comedy or memes. It's actually being used to signify just horror, just absolute horror, and just in his style. I just want to see that, especially with this director who's more grounded, more into atmosphere. Just having that Nicolas Cage, and apparently he pulled it off. Whatever he did with Nicolas Cage, it's getting fantastic ratings. I believe it's still at 100% in the tomato meter right now. Not many reviews, of course, but every time I hear someone talking about Long Legs, they're saying it's one of the most incredible horror experiences they've had in a while, and it's definitely the horror movie of the year. So I can't even read any more about it. I can't, because I feel I'm going to get spoilers. I just need this thing right now. I need it right now. It's coming out Friday. I'm going to see it on Friday. I'm so excited for Long Legs.
All right.
That's very cool.
Is anyone else going to see it? I was being a little cagey the other day when you asked me, right? You were like, you going to see Long Legs? I was like, oh, maybe.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. It's not for everyone. I understand. It's not for everyone.
Who are we getting in the movie every weekend? No, I'm probably seeing Long Legs.
Perp, I'm going to see it because it's the only thing that I'll have not seen next week, because I'm taking my nephews to see Despicable Me on Thursday, and I already saw Fly Me to the Moon at a preview show. So,
oh, you saw that one? How was that one?
It was okay. I gave it a B-.
Okay.
I think Scarlett Johansson will perhaps get a Golden Globe nomination for it, because I think she is excellent in it. But the romantic stuff between her and Channing, a little bit routine. But no, I thought it was good. Sure. But yeah, so Long Legs is the only thing at theaters coming Friday that I have not seen yet. So I will definitely watch it.
Monkey Man said he was great in the horror movie Mandy. Yeah, I loved Mandy. I absolutely loved Mandy. That guy has a new movie coming out pretty soon that I'm excited for.
Now, Perp, I do need to point out, Monkey Man spells his name with 2 E's. That means he is not referencing the Dev Patel film, but Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, Peter Tork, and Michael Nesmith.
That was a good one. You know what? You know what I saw recently too? I finally got to see the sequel to that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Oh God!
It was good. It was way better than the first one. I liked it. It had a crazy body count. I was surprised, and it was pretty. The production was good. I was pleasantly surprised. It's still like a bunch of CGI gore, which is like not a big no-no with horror guys, but it had enough of big body count that I was like, whatever. So I highly recommend Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey Part 2.